Alright, welcome to the MLB As Of status for the weekend of September 7th, 2018. Pretty much, like I'd like to do this on Fridays because normally the Cubs always play a matinee at 2:20 at Wrigley here on the East Coast, but doesn't really matter because Friday, there's no matinees and it's easier just to go into it as the weekend goes along, and pretty much now we're only about 3 weeks away from the end of the 2018 season ending. So, of course, like I normally do, we're going to review the standings, playoff picture, stat leaders. You're going to have to bear with me this week because my internet's just being slow today. I don't know why it's been like this. Like earlier in the week, I didn't have this problem, and then back on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, it started to slow down, and now 2 days in a row I've had bad internet. So if it gets disorganized, you're going to have to apologize because the pages now load a little bit faster because I preloaded them, which I'm not going to get into how I do that, but yeah. Let's start off with the American League and, of course, National League standings. So, Yankees, we're officially going to write them off for winning the AL East. They're 9.5 back heading into today. They got a big 3-game series this weekend against the Seattle Mariners, which I'll get to them in this part of the segment, of course. This weekend, the Red Sox have a crucial potential playoff matchup, pretty much a playoff preview against the Houston Astros. I'll highlight that here. The Red Sox had a pretty good week. They swept the Atlanta Braves at a 3-game series, and the Braves pretty much got swept out of their new ballpark, which I forget the name of it at the moment because I used to think Turner Field would be the lifelong name, but now I can't think of the new name for the new ballpark in Atlanta. So, yeah, that's pretty much it on that front. Now they added this on the MLB.com website, elimination number. So pretty much now it tells you how many games would the Yankees be eliminated from postseason contention, which I don't think that's going to happen, but they have this scary number here of 13 games. If, let's say, the Yankees were to lose 13 in a row for some weird reason and somehow the Twins were to catch up, which they're mathematically still in the hunt for a wild card race, which I'll get into that scenario in just a sec, which, again, they're the 500. They're not going to make the playoffs, but the Yankees have too much to lose in a way because even though they did lose 2 out of 3 to Oakland, they still have the first wild card. So I'll get into that as we go along here. But the Rays, so far, they've been doing decent still. They're a very good home team. So those numbers don't lie right there. They are about 11 games above 500 going into today. They're playing the Orioles, which, again, the worst team in all of baseball. Baltimore loses today. It will be their century mark of losses, which would be 100. Once again, I don't know if they're on pace to be as bad as the 1962 Mets, which only won about, I think, close to that amount of number. I'll confirm it next week with everybody about the 1962 Mets because it's an interesting situation that we may have a 110-plus losing team this season in all of baseball. So, yeah, it's been a miserable season to be an Oriole fan. I'm not going to get into it, but certainly when I do the as a video for Monday, October 1st, that's when I'll go into the misery of how bad the season was a little bit, but not too much. Central Division, Cleveland's magic number. I'll get to the magic numbers as we go along in this video. As of today, is down to 7. So pretty much that's why you have the elimination number for the Twins to be at 7. So right here is 7 more games for the Twins to get eliminated, and Cleveland would magically clinch the American League Central Division. Right now, the Indians are on pace to win 90-plus games. If I were to give a number right now, I would say 95 wins is a safe bet for the Indians. There are 20-something games left. I can't get a number at the moment, but it's possible that they could definitely win 90 games and lose 70-something games, but Indians definitely going to get the Central. The West is not going to be decided yet. Oakland's still in the race. They're 3.5 back of the Houston Astros. So either way you look at it, Seattle's still in the wild card hunt. They need 14 more games to be eliminated from postseason contention. Anaheim, 4 more games and they're done. Which, again, no need to talk about them because Ohtani, even though he needs Tommy John surgery, he gets a home run. So I don't know what this Shohei Ohtani guy is even thinking of doing, but I'm not going to get into him in this video. Now we're going to move on to the National League. This was the Phillies' prime week to gain ground on the Braves. But unfortunately, they couldn't do that as last night they lost to the Miami. No, back on Wednesday they lost, right? There were only 4 games in the league last night. Everybody else had the night off if you weren't like watching any of the 4 games, but pretty much Philadelphia coming into today is 3.5 back. They need to stay in pace. Not going to be easy for the Braves this weekend. Another tough test ahead of him. They are playing the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are still trying to save their postseason hopes. I'll get into that as we go along here. But Philadelphia is 3.5 back going into today. They have a divisional matchup against the Mets this weekend. The Mets right now are 63-76. They took 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers this past week. So the Mets right now, if you look at the numbers, they are on pace to win 73 games, I would say. At least 70 to 73 games. If anything the Mets have done this season, that would be their number. 68, would it be possible? I would say yes by the end of next week or the week after. So, yeah, it would really take a miracle for the Mets to do something because 10 more games and they're out of postseason contention. Philadelphia, again, they're still in the hunt for a postseason spot. So, we're going to go into how hot the National League Central has been. Because the Cardinals have certainly had a good second half. They have the second wild card right now. Milwaukee has the first wild card right now. And the Cubs are going to get that division. But Milwaukee, they had a tough stretch. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Cubs in their previous series. So they're playing the Giants. They should gain some ground back on the wild card. Cardinals have an easy schedule coming up too. They got the Detroit Tigers coming in, so the Cardinals should be able to sweep the Tigers. Cubbies, they should have an easy weekend against the Nationals. The Nationals, of course, a train wreck this season. They're going to be under 500, or it'll just take a miracle for them to be at 500, finishing at 81-81, if anything were to come to that mark. But we'll have to see how that ends up. Now we're going to go to the West. As of today, the Rockies, surprisingly, are in first place. The Colorado Rockies, going into play today, are in first place in the National League West. So out of all the divisions you need to be keeping an eye on right now, I would say maybe the East. The American League, I would say, would be decided pretty much in a way if the Astros take complete control. The East, again, I don't know. Anything's possible. Maybe Boston does cool off. Maybe the Yankees have a good weekend against the Mariners. I wouldn't know, but it just depends on what happens. So, pretty much now, you got Colorado in first place today in the West. Dodgers are now a game and a half back because remember they lost to the Mets on Wednesday. Diamondbacks, they lost to the Braves last night. So Atlanta actually did gain a game on Philadelphia. Alright, so that's why the 3.5 up. Okay. But again, Philadelphia can still make some ground up because once again, the Braves, very tough 3 games coming up ahead of them. Arizona's not going to be an easy team. And it's really going to be a rough stretch coming up. Now, crucial series this weekend for the Dodgers because they are playing the Colorado Rockies. So this series coming up will make or break the Dodgers season. Will they still be in the hunt to reclaim their division? Or does Colorado be a shocker and actually surprise everyone? That's a big question that we need to figure out this weekend. So out of all the series you need to be keeping an eye on this weekend, Colorado and Los Angeles is the one you need to be keeping an eye on. In the American League, I would say Boston and Houston. It's a big series. Yankees, Mariners, maybe. I mean, even though I'm a Yankee fan, I'm just hoping they can keep the first wild card at this point. But I have to get into the Yankees as just we go along here. Now we're going to go to the wild card. Going into play, Yankees at 3.5 in front of the first wild card. So season were to end today, they would play Oakland. And I'll get to the postseason picture way at the end of this video because next week I'll definitely have it organized. You'll have my word on that. So yeah, Oakland is pretty much 3.5 back of the first wild card for home field. As of today, Milwaukee would host the wild card game in the National League, playing the Cardinals. Wild card still is sort of open, but I don't know how that's going to end up, to be honest with everybody. The Pirates are getting hot for whatever weird reason. Maybe they'll try to save their season and try to finish above 500, but what's that going to do? So, yeah, that's the review of the wild card, of course. Now we're going to take a look at magic numbers to clinch. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Indians going into today are 7 games away from clinching the American League Central. Pretty much 7 games to clinch a berth anyway in the Central, looks like. Red Sox, they are 9 games away. My bad, is this right? Right, Boston would be 4 games away from clinching a playoff spot. Yankees are now, magic number for them to clinch a spot would be 12 to clinch a wild card spot. Astros 19 to clinch the division, 12 to get a postseason berth. Oakland 16 to clinch a postseason berth. So pretty much Indians are the first team to keep an eye on. Them will go along with other teams in the league. But yeah, now we're going to go to National League numbers. Cubs today are 13 games away from clinching a playoff spot. Brewers are 17 games away from clinching a playoff spot. St. Louis is now 18 games away from clinching a playoff spot. Atlanta 17 games away. Phillies 22 games away from clinching a playoff spot. So magic number is still there for the Phillies if you want to look at it from them clinching a wild card spot. National League, I don't want to get into it. It's the West. It's way too early to talk about the West because even though you see the numbers here on your screen right now, it's just too much for them to even think about what could happen here. So, yeah. Once again, I disorganized this video, so the postseason picture will be at the way end, but next week I'll definitely have it organized. So, we're going to take a look at statistics as of today. So, JD Martinez and Mookie Betts going into today tied for league average at 335. JD Martinez is leading all of the league in home runs and runs batted in going into today. Yeah. trying to see what else we can get here. Right, I'm trying to get you pitching. I'll do that. I'll do that at the end. That's what we'll do. We'll do that at the end, right before the postseason picture. And I really disorganized this, so you're gonna have to apologize for. And I mean, I have to apologize for that. So American League, I'm trying to load it. I had it earlier, but yeah, here it comes. So once again, American League, 335, 345 average. JD's leading the league in that. So let's take a look at National League. Who is leading in the National League today? Because I know somebody from the Red Sox is going to win MVP. I can guarantee you that right now. Alright, so we got Gennett. I don't know what his first name is. I have to really look that one up in the future, but yeah, he's not leading the league in home runs. He's leading the league in average, but not in RBI. It's Christian Yelich from the Brewers, who I think is going to win MVP. I think he's going to definitely win MVP. Actually, no. I think it's going to be Nick Markakis. Not Nick Markakis, no. Who was leading the National League in home runs then? Right, you would have to give it to Goldschmidt. But in a way, Gennett would have to win the award because of average. But it just depends on who hits the most home runs. That would be the question on that. So, obviously, we have to put that into a factor. Now, we're going to take a look at pitching in the National League. Very important. DeGrom going into the game on Sunday. He will be pitching Sunday against Philadelphia. He has an ERA of 1.68. So that pretty much leads all pitchers in baseball. I will confirm that to you as we go along here. He's not leading the league in strikeouts or wins, because guess who's doing that again? That's right, Max Scherzer. He has a 16-6 record with an ERA of 2.28 with how many strikeouts? 260 strikeouts. So we'll take a look at all of the league right now. And again, I will confirm to you all that DeGrom is leading the ERA stat right there. Chris Sale is best ERA in the American League, 1.97. So I'm going to assume that he's going to win the Cy Young Award, if anything. Snell, don't get me wrong, he's leading the league, the American League, in wins right now, but I don't know. It's, once again, I mentioned this last week. It's still a close race between Chris Sale and Blake Snell, so it's really going to be up to the voters who decide that if wins are more important than ERA or strikeout in that rate. Because once again, I'll pull it up in the American League, and you will see that this is very alarming. That we don't know who's going to win the Cy Young Award. Is it going to be Blake Snell, or is it going to be, obviously, the clear-cut winner, Chris Sale? We don't know that yet. Trevor Bauer, I don't know. How many strikeouts does he have? Yeah, here's the thing. Verlander is leading the American League in strikeouts. He has 248. So, I wouldn't figure that out. Like, if he has another, like, let's say Houston wins the World Series again, right? And let's say Verlander pitched the way he did last season for Houston. Then you would have to give him the World Series MVP then. You wouldn't give it to a batter because he would be pitching lights out. Because if you remember the 2014 World Series, Madison Bumgarner won the MVP because pretty much overall he had a great postseason for the Giants. So, interesting enough, Severino's catching up to Kluber in wins with 17. So that's interesting to see that. Severino did record his 200th strikeout against Oakland back on Wednesday. So I just want to quickly bring that up. Wow. Interesting enough to see that. Very interesting. So, Red Sox, of course, would be the 1 seed right now. Here's Boston right here. So that would mean the winner of the wild card game, Yankees or Athletics, would move on to play the Red Sox. 2-3 matchup would be Houston playing Cleveland, which was supposed to be last year in the American League Championship Series. So we're going to get that in the Divisional Series this year, the way everything's looking. If it stays this way, which I think it will be, just because Boston has so many wins, they're going to pretty much get the first seed. So the Yankees would have to deal with the wild card again. No big deal. Not a big deal. I'm wondering, what's the National League? Here's the National League. So, Cubs today would be the first seed in the National League, surprisingly, because remember, a lot of the wins are from them in the National League. So, Cubs would have to play definitely somebody from their division if it were to end up that way, either Milwaukee or St. Louis, if it were to end up that way. And the 2-3 matchup would be Colorado hosting Atlanta. So they would get the first 2 games in that series, and then if it were to go to a Game 5, guess who would host it? That's right, the Rockies. So once again, National League, very open. American League, I'm going to say this now, watch out for the Red Sox, because again, I'm a hater of the Red Sox, but I just know what's going to happen. They are going to be the ones to beat, the way that they are pretty much favored to be. So, yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. That's your MLB As Of video for this weekend. Thank you all for watching. Till the next one, take care.